so the claim was made within time. That is one argument. There is the secondary argument that the claim, if the court deems the claim was not made in time initially, it should allow it to be made out of time because the physical condition, allegedly as a result of the incident, has not yet reached a stable point. And therefore, the time of knowledge of injury has not yet been reached. So a solicitor is the person to discuss it with in the first stages. Now, if that solicitor says no chance, then sensibly you would be wise to drop it.
But going back to the point one of making a claim on my insurance, does that stand up when I'm making a claim against the other person's insurance? I mean, is it valid?
The answer to that is possibly, because if there is no claim against the other person's insurance company because it is out of time, there is a very slight possibility that you can say your insurance company ought to have told you to level the claim against the other insurer.
Right.
It's all very hairy-fairy and all very unlikely to be productive. But for the sake of the cost of a consultation with a solicitor, the peace of mind that will give you is worth the money.
Is it worth, first of all, going to the citizen's advice?
The answer to that is yes, it's worth it, but quite honestly, it's something you need to discuss with a solicitor. The Citizens Advice Bureau do not claim to be qualified legal advisors in the true sense. They will advise you as to the information, and they will probably counsel you in the way I have just done so. But really, you do need to discuss it with a solicitor. Now, it may be worth going to a Citizens Advice Bureau to use their free legal advisor scheme.
And what's that?
It's a scheme whereby a lawyer, a rota of lawyers actually, visit the Citizens Advice Bureau on a regular basis and see clients referred to them by the Citizens Advice Bureau, and no charge is levelled against the client for that short interview. And in that short interview, the solicitor will merely say whether there is a case worth pursuing or not.
So it is worth going through then?
Well, it'll save you the cost of the initial fee, yes.
I wouldn't know what's a good solicitor, who isn't, you know.
And the answer to that is no one's allowed to tell you.
No. If I was going to go to a telephone act and just pick one out, I might as well go to the Citizens Advice.
Indeed, yes.
And it'd be free as well?
The initial consultation would be free. It is perfectly possible that you will need rather more than a 10 or 15 minute consultation.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. He can probably say, yay, it's worth looking into further, or no, you might as well forget it immediately. All right?
Right, wonderful. Thanks for your help.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Bye-bye.
How do Sheridan?
Dear Mr. Beswick, I would like to complain about the freedom of the working class in the modern world. I mean, I'm trying to organise a Christmas party for a few of the chaps, and the maids and other of the bloody servants would like the night off. I mean, what on earth is the world coming to? I mean, there are many important jobs to see to. I mean, I can't run the whole bloody thing myself. I've got some very important guests attending. I've got the Reverend Peabody's daughter's calling. I mean, how can a chap get a bit of crumpet? I mean, how can a chap keep his guests entertained when the whole working class just has his freedom?
It's a constant problem. I'm up against it myself, Sheridan.
Why, have you got servants?
No, but I wish I did have. They're so expensive.
Counter-revolution. We'll have the fuel system reintroduced. You hear it, you communists out there. Rule Britannia.
Ah, yes.
Mr. Beswick.
Good night, Sheridan.
Good night.
Good night. I'm sure he feels better. Hello, Tracy. Sorry, Jason.
Alan,
Yes.
can you tell me what imbecile means, please?
Yes, it means Jason. How do Colin?
Alan, I've got a bit of a problem.
I'm sure you have.
What happens is, my cousin's husband's just come to our house. He's drunk like, she's kicked him out. And he's told us that it was just a fight, but he's asked me to come down and see my cousin. And she's told me she's kicked him out because he's been wet in the bed. But I've told him I'll put him up. And, not like the baby spared the bed because the baby's not there now. But I don't know how to get him out. Not like, tactfully. Any ideas on that, Alan?
It's very difficult to get somebody out tactfully. Just say, hey you, get out.
And
Far
what
more
I get-
sensible way of doing it. If he does stay, make him wear rubber pants. Hello, Kath.
Yes, hello, Helen. I'd like your advice, please. I had a bike accident last February, and I've not heard from the insurance for quite a while, you say, and I'm still waiting,
Why not write to the insurance
Yes.
and ask them what is happening?
Oh yes, I have wrote to them
When?
about 2 months ago, so I had to get a new insurance.
You had to get new insurance?
Yes, so I wrote to them about the accident.
When you say new insurance, Kath, do you mean replacement or do you mean a totally new company?
No, a replacement.
You needed to renew your insurance,
Yeah.
so you wrote to them about your renewal.
Yes.
Might I suggest to you that you write to them specifically about your claim and ask them what is happening?
Yeah. Well, like I wrote to them, right, and,
When did you write to them?
When I sent the insurance out.
Yes, so you wrote to them at their renewal department and included a letter for the claims department.
Yeah, but they
It
sent,
may well not have gone there.
yes, but they sent me a letter back saying, do I suffer from any kind of fits or anything, and that's all I've heard from them.
And did you respond to that?
Yes, I did, but I haven't heard anything.
So in fact, when you say you wrote to them at your claim time, you mean you wrote to them at the claim time and you've since written to them again answering some questions?
Yes, but...
You see, we can progress a lot better if you give me this information rather than me having to play Sherlock Holmes to get it. The advice remains the same, Kath, and that is to write back to the insurance company and ask them what is happening.
Yes,
I can't tell you what is happening, can I?
No, I just
Well, perhaps they can. That is the answer to your wonder.
Do you think I should get in touch with this insurance?
No, I think you should abandon all hope, Kath. I think you should give up immediately, abandon your claim, write and send them a £50,000 cheque. I've just told you what I think, Kath. I think you should write to them. All right?
Yes, okay.
It isn't that difficult, is it?
No, I think
There.
Helen.
Right. Heavens above, how many times have you got to say something to the woman? Right, it's melodic moment time. Let us have some music. This is one of my favourite tunes. It's an absolute belter. The Girl from Ipanema, or however you do say it, with Astrid Gilberto.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça.
We're walking in the air. We're floating in the moonlit sky.
Hey, would it be Christmas without the snowman? Which is on telly later tonight, it being 4 minutes to 1, on Tuesday. It's on at about 6:30. I can't remember which channel it's on, but I shall be there glued to set watching it. That version was by Allan Jones, of course, who doesn't sing on the film, but nonetheless, the film should be glad, doesn't he? I like Allan Jones, he's got a smashing voice, and judging by what bits of telly I've seen of him recently, he seems like a nice little lad too. Still got all that spirit that a little lad should have, and queer ain't too, but little girls should have that spirit as well.
Blinking heck, Dave. Why don't you get a decent radio to match this flash car?
Well, that one cost an arm and a leg, but it's never been much good.
You need to contact West Horton Car Radio, mate. They've got superb systems by Blaupunkt and Panasonic, such as the Blaupunkt Miran, which will fit for under 100 quid, including the aerial and speakers. Hey, and they've got the Blaupunkt E-Stock range at less than half the normal price. None of this distortion like with one of them.
Blaupunkt what?
Blaupunkt. It's German, ain't it? I thought you were supposed to be brainy. Hey, you can also get electric windows, vehicle alarms and car phones fitted by West Horton Car Radio.
So find the right station with West Horton Car Radio, Church Street, West Horton. Phone West Horton 814-229 before you crack up.
And now the forecast from Aries Wine Stores. In 18 branches across the Fylde, a wide range of wine, spirits and beers are falling heavily in price. Captain Morgan Rum, $7.35 a bottle. Martel Cognac, $9.75. Warnings Advocar, Aries price, $4.99. Clipper Export Lager, only $1.49 for 4 cans. It's just the weather for picking up a bargain at your local Aries Wine Store. Open till 10 every night.
Now do Dale. How's your mother's diary these days? How do Wendy?
Hello, Alan. Can you help me? A bit of help. I used to live with my boyfriend, and he used to hit me and smash the doors. So we finished, and then I got a flat of my own, and I thought he'd quieten down. But, like, he's living with me, but he's not here at the moment. But he's still doing the same, smashing the doors and hitting me. And I'm wondering what help I can get.
Wendy, this might seem like a daft question. Please don't think it is. What sort of help do you want?
Well, you see, like, I told him to go in that, but he just won't. He's too possessive.
What do you mean he's too possessive?
He won't let me go out or nothing.
No, but why won't he leave you now that you've told him to leave your property?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, he just won't go.
Do you actually want him to go?
Yeah.
For sure?
Yeah.
No doubts?
No doubt.
See a solicitor?
Yeah.
That's the answer. You can't get him put out onto the street legally.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So you're going to see a solicitor straight after Christmas, or even tomorrow, are you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
I'll do George.
How do, Alan? A lot of tonight's programme seems to be devoted to the drink and driving, and I do think that they should highlight a little bit more the fact that drinking and driving, that people should take consideration that not only can they not drink and drive, but also the following morning. And
it's news time. We'll be with you after 1 o'clock news, George.
The 1 o'clock news, this is Therese Birch. The father of tragic toddler Ben Hardwick is appearing in court today, charged with threatening to kill his wife. William Paul Hardwick is to appear before magistrates at Warrington in Surrey, accused of making the threat last week. He's also charged with threatening to kill a Surrey couple, Jean and Sydney Arnold. Millions of television viewers followed the progress of 3-year-old Ben, who underwent 2 liver transplant operations at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge. The toddler failed to recover after the second operation, and he died in March. South Africa is vowing to avenge the deaths of 6 whites killed in a bomb blast at a holiday resort near Durban. 3 women and 3 boys died in the blast that's being blamed on the guerrilla organisation, the African National Congress. Members of a jury are beginning their Christmas Eve this morning by deliberating in a murder trial. Patrick Riley is accused of murdering a 7-year-old girl in South London last year. And as Tim Crook reports, the case is being held among the otherwise empty courts at the Old Bailey.
It's not a unique event for a jury to decide on the verdict in a murder trial on Christmas Eve, but it's a somewhat eerie experience for everyone involved in the case, because the court trying Patrick Riley is the only court still open. Riley is the only defendant being brought to the Old Bailey, and the Recorder of London, Sir James Miskin, is the only judge still sitting. Everyone else has started their Christmas holiday. Riley denies murdering Leonie Darnley, whose body was found in the basement of her block of flats in Battersea, South London, in July last year. Tim Crook, IRN, the Old Bailey.
A 13-stone policewoman in Plymouth has been told by a court that when her superiors told her to lose weight and smarten herself up, this wasn't sexual discrimination. Terry Gisborne reports.
39-year-old Susan MacLeod, a policewoman at Devonport Dockyard, took her case to an industrial tribunal after her boss accused her of being grossly overweight and put her on report. She claimed that tubby male colleagues were treated less severely, and she was picked out because she was a woman. But the tribunal says there was no discrimination, and they're ordering Mrs. MacLeod to pay some of the Ministry of Defence costs in the case. She's now lodging an appeal and is making no comment. Terry Gisborne for IRN in Plymouth.
Swansea City's players will be kicking a football around at practice today after a last-minute reprieve saved them from the dole queue. A High Court judge granted a 3-week stay of winding up the club, which has been heading for bankruptcy. Mike Vince reports.
Mr Justice Scott's ruling was an early Christmas present for the players who'll turn out in the derby match at Cardiff on Boxing Day. Frantic efforts are going on to raise the cash to save the club. Harry Hyde, a member of the consortium, says there's been amazing support.
We're getting support from as far as Scotland in the north, down as far as Cornwall and Devon and London in the south of England. It's coming in from all over the country.
But he and everyone else knows the 3 weeks breathing space doesn't give anyone much time.
Cuba's Fidel Castro, the revolutionary leader famed for his beard and having a Havana cigar wherever he goes, has quit smoking. He says he hasn't puffed on a cigar for several months and barely misses a smoke. Independent Radio News.
Just after 3 minutes back... Just after 3 minutes past 1, Preston 561,000, if you want to join us. This is the final hour for a number of days of Beswick, because I'm not on again, doing the late night programme at least, until Friday, when I'll be back between 10 and 2. On Boxing Day, I will, of course, be here between 12 and 2, lunchtime, that is, doing It's Your Turn, but rest at time, I'll be sitting at home, feeding me face and getting still fatter.
Red Rose Radio.
Let's go back to George. You were telling us all about drink driving.
Yes, as I was saying, Alan, that a lot of time has been spent on emphasising don't drink and drive, but I think more time should be spent on saying about the following morning, of course, where people think that they've left the car at home the night before, they've gone out and had their 8 pints, but they don't realise that the following morning, just how long they have to wait before they are fit to drive again. And I would value your opinion. And, of course, if you could indicate what you yourself would think that if they've had about 8 pints the night before, that how long would they have to wait the following day before they could take the car out, the wife, the family and kids out, you know?
The answer to that, I don't have an opinion as to how long they should wait, because it's a scientific decision, and I'm not going to get involved in guessing the science. The only experience I have of the matter is that at the Red Rose Christmas party, not this year, but last year, my wife had 1 or 2 more drinks than is normal and was a little bit pie-eyed, and I had to drive her to work the next day. She was in no state to drive herself. And so, yes, you must be aware. You must make yourself aware that if you were drunk the night before, then and the chances are it's not going to be 8 hours later, it's going to be 3 or 4 hours, because if you're out late drinking, then it's going to be a shorter time when you go to work the next day. And the answer is you've got to check it out. You've got to make sure yourself whether you're fit to drive.
So there's no sort of, shall we say, yardstick or anything where you could say it would take a period of time for it to get out of your system?
The answer to that is no, there's not. Everybody has a different metabolism. That's the speed at which your body operates, for want of a better term. And everybody's is different, and there's just no way of knowing any individuals other than checking it out specifically with instruments.
That in the publicity and all that they put out, that they should highlight the situation that not only should you not drink and drive, that you should not drink after, you should not drive after drink for quite a period of time, because I myself used to be a milkman, and of course all milkmen, if they go out the night before for a skinful, then of course I would go as far as to say 60-70% of milkmen the next morning are driving the milk floats around under the influence of drink, and they don't even realise it.
The problem, George, is yes, people should be aware of that, and yes, it would be nice in the ideal world if we could make people aware of that. The problem is one of cost and one of ability to get a message across. It's very difficult to get a message across to the public. It's even more difficult if that message is complicated by having, if you like, 2 prongs to it. Far easier to say, don't drink and drive. We've not managed to get that across to the majority of drinking drivers yet. So until we do, I'm afraid we've got to keep hammering away at that and leaving the secondary problem, which is no less important at the end of the day, but we've got to decide what we're going to go for first, and we're going at the moment for drink driving, and quite right too. I do agree that all people who have had a drink and then go to drive must not just consider it at that moment, but consider how long it is before they're fit to drive again, and I would say it's considerably longer than most people imagine.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for raising it. It's an important point.
Yeah, well, you know, I feel sure that you have indicated to people that, of course, they mustn't they think that because they haven't been drinking at the time, if they're drunk the night before, then they should still take it into consideration.
If you're still feeling queasy and you've still got the headaches and all the rest of it, the 1 degree under that one has, then all I can say is that's because you're suffering from alcoholic poisoning. It must still be there.
Yes, okay.
All right.
I think we'll finish on a joyous point, and that is, I don't think anybody would really drink and drive, because you must agree that they'd spill more than what they would.
Aye, indeed, they would spill a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra now.
I must admit that before the days of the drink-driving legislation, when I was a very young man, I worked in a pub just before I went in the army. I must have been about 17 years of age, and I drove a car from Liverpool, from Warrington to Liverpool, with a bottle of beer in my hand, all the way. And I'd been drinking all night as well, and I thought it was dead good. And only now I think back and think, good grief, that could have been my last day. If you're on your way home tonight and you've got a belly full and you're listening to this in your car, then do me the honour of either turning me off or getting the hell out of that car, because quite honestly, I don't want to share a car with you if you're drunk. I'll do Mandy.
Sandy.
Okay, Sandy.
Hello, Alan. I just wondered, you know that man talking before about the drink driving?
Yeah.
What about pedestrians as well? Drinking and walking.
Well, what do you suggest they do?
Well, I mean, you
You're
know...
trying to ban drink altogether, are you? I'm on your side.
I'm not saying that, no. But I'm just saying, what about the ones who are drinking and walking?
Well, yes, they're extremely
just as bad,
dangerous.
aren't they?
Yes, they're as dangerous, but no, they're not as bad, because they're not walking about with a weapon of death.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they could walk in front of a taxi, couldn't they?
If they walked in front of a taxi, then they may well get seriously injured, and there is a possibility that someone in the taxi would get injured, but the chances are less. Not of them walking into the taxi, that's fairly high, but the chances of them actually injuring somebody else are slim.
Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about.
I see.
I wanted to talk about sales. You know, in shops now.
Yes.
I bought my little lad a bike not 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Which cost me £30.
Yeah.
Today I go in that shop and they're selling it for £19. Isn't that disgraceful?
No.
Before Christmas.
No.
I think it's disgusting.
No, it's not.
Of course it is.
What's wrong with that?
Because they've just taken
Sandy.
£9
Sandy,
off me.
were you happy with the price?
Well, no, not really.
Why did you buy it then?
Well, because my little lad wanted it.
But, well, let me put the question in a different way, because you obviously haven't the detachment to answer it civilly. When you went into that shop, you paid the £30 in the full knowledge that that was the price of the cycle.
Yeah.
You could, of course, have refused.
I know, but, I mean, you're not going to know it's going to go down in the sales, are you?
Tough.
Oh, well, that's not very nice before Christmas.
What do you mean, not very nice before Christmas? I'm sorry, love. You buy the price that you think it's worth at the time. If you don't like the price, don't buy the goods.
I know, but
If the shop then chooses to sell them at a lower price later, tough.
I was in a shop, right, Marks and Spencer.
I'm not allowed to let you name shops.
all right,
I'm sorry, that's the end of the conversation. You already have, you silly woman.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter, you've already done it. So that's the end of the conversation. But in future, don't buy unless you're buying the sales, and that way you won't feel so aggrieved. Marcus, you're next.
Red Rose Radio has some great programs lined up for you over Christmas. Listen out for full details of these shows and many others.
An exclusive interview with James Last, plus the unique sounds of his famous orchestra. Fraser Shepherd, who's been to the Falklands and brings back a hard-hitting report. Sally Moon comes live from St George's Centre, Preston on Christmas Eve. There's Alan Freeman's Nostalgia concert with Jerry and the Pacemakers and the Swinging Blue Jeans. And for the children, a chance to speak to Santa Claus.
On Christmas Day, a service of 9 lessons and carols from Blackburn Cathedral. Les Dennis and Dustin G in their own music and laughter show. And Mike Tunstall looks back on the golden years of the film musicals.
Pitch your wits against Allan Beswick on Boxing Day. Listen to Toyah, Brian Ferry, Bob Geldof and Elton John in conversation with Robin Ross. And laugh along with Paul Fairbairn in his comedy classics.
All this and much, much more at
Christmas with Red Rose.
I'll do Marcus. Is Marcus going to speak to us? Perhaps Marcus is not going to speak to us. Never mind. On line 6, we have Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I'd like to speak about racial discrimination, if I may.
Let's hear it, Stephen.
Well, just because I've got a Scout accent.
I'll do Pierre. Pierre's gone. We're all glad. I'll do Gary.
Hello, Alan.
Well?
Hello, Alan. It's Gary in Preston.
We don't identify where we are in this programme. I'll do to line 1, where is contained who? Elaine. I'll do.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Elaine.
Hello, I'd like to talk about private education.
Then do so.
Okay. I think that private education is quite positive. It gives better qualifications and better education to some people. But I think it's unfair because it discriminates against a lot of people who don't have the money to send their children there.
But surely, in our society, people ought to have the right to spend their money in any way they see fit.
But I guess I'm a bit of a socialist, and I think...
Well, you may well be a bit of a socialist, but do you have a car, Elaine?
I'm trying to buy one. It's
Why? There are people that can't afford it.
Yes, I agree with that. I think everybody ought to have a car.
But, Elaine, just because you think everybody ought to have one doesn't mean that everybody can afford to have one. I think everybody ought to be able to afford to pay for private education if they want it, but everybody can't.
I know, and that's what I disagree with. I think it ought to be available.
So are you suggesting, then, that we should have cars available to everybody?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you want to have cars free?
Yes, why not?
I see. If you got your car free, Elaine, what would you do with the money that you're thinking of spending on this motor car?
Pay the rent.
You'd pay the rent, so you're actually not paying your rent at the moment in order to pay for a motor car?
Yeah.
That is so. You're running up rent arrears to pay for a car?
That's so, yeah.
And you expect to have an intelligent conversation with me?
Why not?
Because you are beneath me, madam. I'll do Peter.
Hello, Alan. You talk about drink drivers.
That's right, I do. I'll do Dave.
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk
Turn your radio off.
Take your scrap to CSM, Preston's top scrap metal men. They pay a better price, so this is our advice. Go to CSM.
Turn your scrap metal into cash. Best prices 6 days a week at Carlton Street Metals off File Road, Preston. Phone 729949.
Go to CSM. CSM.
I'll do Dave.
Hello, Alan.
Your radio's off now. Good.
Yeah.
What can we do for you?
I'd like to talk about the lead in your blood and the effects that it has on you. You were talking last week about lead fumes from cars to a guy, you know. Well, I'm what they call a lead worker. And what surprised me, I have been working under appalling conditions. And I went to the doctor to have some blood samples taken for the lead content. And what really surprised me is that I was just above the normal level. And what really surprised me on top of that was that the fact that the lead blood toxic levels were really high. I don't really know how to give you an example of that. Take, for instance, the blood lead levels for a normal person is 0.5 to 1.5. My situation is 2.16. And the toxic level is above 3.5. You with me?
Yes.
Now, when you were talking to this other chap, he pointed out that the lead in air pollution, whatever effects that has on, I don't know whether he was referring to the atmosphere or, you know, the animal life or the vegetable life. All I can really see the fact that it must be quite high to have any real effects on the human being, you know.
Well, that isn't altogether true, Dave.
Well,
to be regarded as legally toxic, it needs to be quite high. for to have an effect. No, I know of people, there are people on record, who merely had lead pipes in their homes, water going through lead pipes, and they suffered from chronic headaches and other such ailments as a direct result of the blood content, or the lead content in their blood.
I've worked in this job for, now it's just on 25 years, under varying conditions. And as I say, I've been working...
But what point are you making, Dave?
Well, I'd like to know, you said that you'd been to a meeting with somebody from the petrol companies and the environment...
That isn't quite what I said, but go on.
What sort of effects were they getting at? The pollution in the air as regards the vegetable life, or, you know, the harm it could be doing to people?
The latter. They were concerned about the harm that could be done and possibly is being done to people as a result of lead pollution from motor vehicles and other sources.
Well, the normal atmosphere, the air outside of where I work is obviously an awful lot lower than what the conditions I'm working under.
Yes.
And I am just above the, as I say, the normal level.
Yes. Dave, I've already asked the question to no avail. I shall ask it again in the hope that there's somewhat more use in the question this time. What point are you trying to make? Are you trying to suggest that...
What I'm trying to suggest is... I agree with this guy.
Just tell me what... you confuse me as soon as you start talking about the other guy. Will you just tell me what you want to say? What point are you wanting to make? Because so far, you haven't actually made any. You've given us an awful lot of information, including a list of numbers. Would you like to tell us what you have to say? What is your opinion?
It's my opinion that the lead fumes from cars can't be causing any toxic effects, you know.
Now, by toxic effects, you mean cannot be increasing their blood or their lead level within their blood more than 5-fold above norm, is what you mean?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The answer to that is you're possibly right. However, lead in your blood is harmful, full stop. Now, the objective of the legislation is to reduce it to less than the current norm.
To reduce it below the current norm?
Yes.
Well, I can't see any effects it's had on me.
Indeed, you are one individual. There are many cases on record of people who have been affected.
By a lot lower levels?
Indeed.
Yeah, I can understand that, you know. I mean,
why can you understand it, given that a few seconds ago you were denying it?
No, I can understand.
Denying it as a possibility.
It varies from person to person.
Quite.
Same as lead, same as the alcohol in the blood, you know. You know, when you mentioned about...
Dave, let me ask you a very specific question, because you do tend to flounder somewhat. And the question is, do you think that we should have lead-free petrol?
Yeah, quite possibly we should.
What do you mean, quite possibly? I asked you what you think, either we should or we shouldn't.
I've already expressed it's my view that it can't be doing anybody any
Dave,
harm.
will you just answer the question? I don't need all this repetition and this bet hedging. Do you think we should have lead-free petrol or not?
Well, I don't think it's doing...
Yes or no, for heaven's sake. Perhaps it's the
I don't think it's necessary.
No. You see, a few seconds ago you said yes. Now you're saying no. Fine. You think it's not necessary for us to have lead-free petrol. That it? So that's the point you came on to make, isn't it? Glad to be of service. How do Kenny? Thank you, Kenny. How do Maria?
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about the report what's been on your news tonight about the woman who wants to sue the American cigarette company.
No, it isn't she wants to. She has done and lost.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Well, that isn't what you said. We have to deal with what you say, and I have to try and convert that into what you should have said. Do go on.
Right. Well, I think it's pathetic anyway. She should have even thought that she could have won this.
Why? In America, legislation is weaker than over here, and litigation is proliferate. I mean, people sue for the massive amounts over the most trivial of things. In America, the law has created a thing called product liability.
Yeah.
In other words, if your product causes harm to a person, you can be deemed to be liable without need to prove negligence. We don't have that in this country. In this country, such a claim would fall on very, very deaf ears. But in America, it's a perfectly feasible claim, although it has on this occasion been lost with right to appeal.
Yeah, well, surely, anyway, it's a well-known fact, and everyone knows that smoking is it's lethal.
Well, there's the problem, you see. Yes, we do now.
Yeah.
But the person concerned, who is now dead, the victim, or alleged victim of cigarettes, the basis of their case was that the person became addicted at a time when he had no knowledge and there was no public knowledge of danger in cigarettes.
Oh.
So the person became addicted and died of his addiction. The argument at court was that the cigarette company should have known of that danger, warned the man of the danger. That's why they mentioned in the report about the health warning on the packet. He became addicted before that health warning.
Yeah.
That was the relevance of the case. And so far the case is lost. There is right of appeal given at court, and that appeal has been lodged. We shall have to see.
Right.
Okay.
Okay then, Alan.
Thanks for your call.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.